Okay. All right. All right. So we have. You want to amend your motion, or do you have?
We're asking the manager to get a best offer and bring it back on Thursday?
Correct.
Second.
Okay.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Ross, second by Commissioner Jonas. Do you have an issue?
I would like some direction from the commission with which firm, to tell you the truth.
No, we're coming back and we're going to decide that on Thursday. We're going to decide that.
Correct. Okay, that's fine, but if you look in your agenda package at the end of the Becker and Polikoff submittal, I did ask those questions before
What questions?
about is there a cap and how long it would take. So I tried to get it to apples to apples before.
I know,
So-
but the figure, there was a willingness to agree to a cap, but was there a figure?
Correct. So I just want to make sure that while they're here, they're willing to go a little further in that conversation.
Yes, they said they were.
Yes. Okay. All right. With the motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Again, thank you, gentlemen. The meeting will be Thursday, September 11th. At what time? 6:30. 6:30?
And can we take this item first?
Which item?
On Thursday, we'll take this
Yes,
item
yes.
first.
without a doubt.
So this, for that meeting, this is going to be the first agenda item on Thursday's meeting.
Yes, that's correct. All right, let's go to item 9B, second reading of an ordinance, 2014-06.
This is an ordinance of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, related to the provision of solid waste management fee assessments in the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, approving the schedule for solid waste collection against assessed property located within the Village of Biscayne Park for the fiscal year beginning on October 1st, 2014, providing for conflict, providing for severability, providing for inclusion, providing for an effective date. Its second reading, Mayor. We do have a public hearing, and just to you have it for the record, the total assessment this year for the village is estimated to be $605,655.
All right, we'll open it up to public comment. Anyone care to make any comments? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment period. Staff?
Just to recap, we previously set the assessment by resolution. We held first reading. The assessment, which was already sent out with each resident's trim notice, is $467 per residential property.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we approve ordinance 2014-6.
Second.
Okay, motion by Vice Mayor Ross, second by Commissioner Anderson.
Commissioner Jonas?
No. Yes.
Vice Mayor Ross?
Yes?
Commissioner Watts?
No.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
And Mayor Coviello?
Yes. All right, motion carries 4-1. Item 9C, ordinance 2014-07.
An ordinance of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, amending Chapter 7 of the Village's Land Development Code entitled Recreation and Open Space to provide requirements for watercraft to be registered with the state and to provide other clarifications, providing severability, providing for codification, providing for an effective date at second reading. And consistent with the comments that were made at the last meeting, we have had the annually inserted not only for the watercraft but for the recreational vehicles as well.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Anyone wishing to make public comments? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment period.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Jonas, second by
Second.
Commissioner Anderson. Roll call.
Commissioner Watts?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ross?
Yes?
Commissioner Jonas?
Yes.
Mayor Coviello?
Yes. Okay, we are on to Resolution 2014-63.
This is a resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, authorizing the village's administration to advertise the village's intent to use the uniform method for the collection of assessments consistent with Section 197.3632 Florida statutes for the cost of roadway improvements and for stormwater improvements, authorizing the Village Commission to hold a public hearing on said assessment, providing for an effective date. And what this does, Mayor, in simple language, is goes ahead and authorizes staff to provide the required advertisements, to come back to you in November for the intent resolution, which needs to be in front of the property appraiser by January 1st, December 31st. And then if you do that intent resolution, we would come back to you with an ordinance and the amount that would be a fair assessment. We have to go ahead and take the appropriate steps to do that in the winter, fall of 2015.
Okay. Staff?
As we previously discussed, just to follow up on what the attorney stated, as we previously discussed, the assessment would be used to improve our roadways as well as our stormwater drainage throughout the village. It would be an individual assessment to each property owner. We're required by Florida state statute to follow certain steps before establishing that assessment. The assessment price will not be known until after we go out and do an RFP for bids. The first step under the assessment would be, once the assessment's established, the first way we would expend the funds would be to do a master plan that would help us lay out exactly all the work that needs to be done and look at the village from a comprehensive view. We do not know what that assessment will be, but it will be based on initially the price of that master plan.
So this is just one step in a long process.
Very long
There'll be
process.
future public hearings to discuss the actual assessment.
Correct.
Okay.
And the assessment will be set by public hearing, just as we're doing with the sanitation assessment right now.
And if this passes, this is an assessment for fiscal year 2016?
Correct. It starts October 1st, 2015.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Anderson?
I said, I've mentioned before, to go ahead and to have a company come in here to take a look of what we need before we're actually doing anything for the basically the first year, I think we're jumping too quick. I think what we need to do, if we decide to go ahead and do this, have this special assessment, is let's go ahead and maintain what we have, find out what it costs, and let's get that done for the first year, besides the road work that needs to be done. Then we can take a look, and after we get that under our belt and we know this is what it costs every single year for the maintenance of what we have, now we can go ahead and look if we want to expand it. But to go ahead and spend whatever the amount of money is for a survey before we do anything, I think we're jumping too quick, and we're leaving our infrastructure falling apart.
Well, when we discuss the actual assessment, this assessment is gonna cover not only any study that we do, but it's also gonna cover the work, the repair work, correct? So when we have that discussion, we can discuss the scope of the study, how broad, how narrow it can be, and then.
What I'm concerned is some of the numbers that was thrown out there for the study. I mean, to me, we're going to be asking our citizens to pony up a lot of money.
Okay, that
And that would, in other words,
no,
I think in theory, I'm all for we need to do a special stormwater road. What the money's going to be spent for is something else.
I understand, and I understand the concern about, it was $150,000, I believe, for the study, and I agree that that's a lot of money. I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, but that number was just put as a placeholder in connection with going to the state of Florida for funding.
Correct.
Okay. Commissioner?
Part of what that study will do, and when we were in Tallahassee, we were told that the state is getting very tight with its money, with its stormwater money. And having a master plan will put us in a better position to access those funds from the state, as well as invest our own taxpayer money in our stormwater plan and treatment of the streets. So, it seems, may seem premature, but we need to put this piece in place first so that we can then pursue the money that's available from the state and take the next step to improve our property.
Okay. Anything? All right, so you're in agreement with the concept, it's just that you...
Yes.
So I think we have that discussion when it comes back.
I'm
If that's
fine.
okay with-
I'm
okay.
fine. I just I don't want to be locked in, that we
Understood.
only can go one direction.
Understood, okay.
You ready for a motion?
Yep,
I make a motion that we approve Resolution 2014-63.
Second.
All right. Vice Mayor Ross, seconded by Commissioner Jonas. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. All right, new business, 11A, Commissioner Anderson. Haven't we talked about this before?
Yes, I just discussed why I wanted to have it on there. And I can see that everybody had backup. What I'm looking for is maybe consensus to maybe having a resolution that anything gets put on the agenda so to be formalized that everybody knows we have to have backup, and using the form that's provided to the commission by the clerk. So we don't forget sometimes, or maybe the next commission may forget that we need to have backup. As we used to years ago, always had backup, and then for some reason, it started to go away.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the concept of requiring backup if you want to put something on the agenda, but I don't think that, in my opinion at least, I don't think we need a resolution to it could just be a policy. I think we get it
And that's
done.
fine. And if we don't have backup, then
It doesn't
fine.
get on, it doesn't get on the
It gets
agenda.
pulled.
Right.
Do we have a resolution on agenda items, how we get items on the agenda? I believe we do.
Then we just need to follow it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it should be a policy too, and I'm saying that as one of the offenders, for which I apologize, by the way. But I do think that somehow underlying this, you're getting at two things. One of them is that we need to do the appropriate homework for issues that we want discussed, and the other is that we need to communicate properly. And I would love to see it be a firm policy of ours that when anything enters the agenda, it has proper backup, and also that we all take proper advantage of our opportunity and responsibility to do communication in advance, talking to the manager, talking to the finance person, so that when we all come to a meeting, we're all ready.
Yeah, I agree. Good point. All right, so I think there's a consensus.
I'd just like to say one thing. I mean, I agree with the sense of your resolution, and I think that's important, and it should be part of it, but I worry about making it a fast law and rule, because there's some instances where I think we're just wasting paper. There are some items that are just, that we get passed down from, it goes from one city to another, such as even the library, the request for that the county make provisions for a valuable library fund. Sometimes I think some of those resolutions are self-evident, but nonetheless, one has to give pages, and how many, half of a tree or a branch of a tree was, lost by what I put in for backup for that resolution. So, you know what I mean? Do you
Okay,
understand?
what I was asking for, the amount of backup, I'm not asking for a large amount of backup. It's just something so everybody who looks at our agenda really understands what it is. And it can be, a sentence. It could be a paragraph. It
Okay,
doesn't
just
have to be, it's just something so you have some idea of what it is.
Okay.
All right. Okay, let's move on to 11B. Vice Mayor Ross.
This was an item to explore potential funding for development of a village commons, a park, through FERDAP, through the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, in conjunction with what's going on at the renovating of the log cabin and building out the new annex area. Even with the $1 million that the state, we were fortunate enough to get from the state, that's not going to take us to developing the surrounding areas. And having seen what other cities get through FERDAP funds and FERDAP applications to develop parks and village commons, City of Key Biscayne, I think, was one that developed a village commons with some money. I thought this could be a perfect funding opportunity for us. And the grants are given up to the level of $50,000 without a matching local match. And then above that level, there needs to be some local contribution for the development. So I wanted to share that with the commission and get your consensus to instruct staff when the process opens up again in October 2014 for the submittal of applications for us to pursue an application from FERDAP to develop the village commons.
Okay, any other comments? Is anyone in agreement?
Yeah, no. No,
fine.
I'm not. I think it's, I think that it's, yes, it's a grant for which we should apply. I think that's wonderful, but I don't see the reason for putting this as an agenda item. I've given the manager and staff indications of at least 2 grants, and one last week I forwarded a grant possibility to Christian and Heidi, and I don't see why it needs to be on the agenda.
I know, but what is the harm in discussing it? I mean, is there any harm in Vice Mayor Ross bringing it up? I mean, if you have a grant idea and you want to discuss it publicly, that's your choice. If you'd like to discuss it with the manager privately, that's your choice. But I think it's admirable that she finds these and brings these forward for the public to hear. And
All right, I'll add some agenda items next week.
okay. All right.
It's, just to finish that off, it's $50,000 is a substantial capital improvement in the village, and this is the place that we talk about these things. We can't talk about them at Publix.
Okay. Consensus on that. All right, 11C, soliciting letters of interest or an RFQ for legal services, Vice Mayor Ross.
Yes. This actually is sort of a uncrossed T from our strategic planning session that we had back in March. We met and talked about goals to develop for the village and things that we wanted to get accomplished. And one of the goals was sustainability, and within sustainability, the objective or the action was to review professional services. And so village staff has been working at reviewing the services that they are in control or direct, that they manage. And through that process, we have made some changes with the services provided in the village. We've solidified some relationships, we've changed others, and the one piece that is not within the purview of the manager is that of the village attorney. Now, I want to preface this, that I have a tremendous amount of respect for John Hearn. He's been with the village for a long time. I know that he values the relationship that we have between the village and the village attorney, and that he often does work, I would call on a pro bono basis, doing work for the village, not billing us for every minute of the time that you spend in providing those services. Having said that, this decision, it has to do with fiscal responsibility. And since the village manager cannot review or cannot make recommendations in this area, it can only be the job of this commission. And we can only have this discussion here on the dais. We can't have this discussion anywhere else. I've always been of the opinion that we should be able to talk about anything that concerns the village, anything that concerns business of the village, development of the village, making us more sustainable. And so I wanted us to review professional services of the village manager, and in order to do that, we would have to compare what services are available out there. And I looked at what other cities were doing and saw the process that was established at other cities. So I'm bringing this forward as an item for the commission to undertake the duty. One of the duties that we swore to when we took our oath of office was that of making fiscally responsible decisions. And So here it is for discussion.
Yes.
You know, I've worked with Attorney Hearn since he's been here. It's been approximately 15 years, through many different commissions that have not always been the easiest to work with. I've always found him to be responsive to our needs, responsive to the commission's needs. He definitely works well with all the different personalities on the commission. He works well with the boards. We already heard from chair of one of our boards was up here. The other thing is when he started here, he knew we were a small community. He grew up in this area. So he set his price at $165 an hour. Back at that time, we used to pay our attorneys on a commission, a contingent